What if one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in human history has been hidden in plain sight for centuries, not beneath sand, not beneath ice, but beneath one of the densest jungles on Earth? What if the Amazon rainforest, long described as wild, untouched, and impossible to tame on a large scale, has actually been covering the remains of something far more extraordinary? An ancient city, or perhaps even a network of cities, so vast and so unexpected that it could force the world to rewrite everything it thought it knew about the past of South America. For generations, the Amazon was treated as a place that could support only small and scattered groups, a land too difficult, too wet, too unpredictable for large permanent civilization. That assumption shaped books, documentaries, classrooms, and the global imagination. But now, hidden shapes beneath the canopy, engineered soil, geometric scars in the earth, causeways, raised platforms, and suspiciously organized patterns deep in the forest are telling a very different story. A story in which the jungle may not be hiding emptiness at all, but the buried memory of people who built, planned, organized, and transformed the land on a scale the modern world never expected to find there. Before we go deeper, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and support the project if you enjoy serious mysteries, ancient secrets, and theories that challenge the official version of history. And I want you to comment below before the end of this video. Do you believe the Amazon is hiding the remains of a true lost city? Or do you think these discoveries point to a different kind of civilization entirely? Stay with me, because the deeper we go into this mystery, the more the jungle begins to look less like untouched nature and more like the ruins of a forgotten world. The idea of a hidden city in the Amazon has existed for centuries. Explorers, chroniclers, and treasure hunters spoke of impossible settlements swallowed by the forest, vast populations erased by time, and places so rich and complex that later generations dismissed the stories as exaggeration or myth. For a long time, that dismissal seemed reasonable. The rainforest was simply too overwhelming. It concealed everything. Stone disappears beneath roots, roads vanish under vegetation, walls collapse into mounds, and when the jungle takes something back, it does not leave obvious traces for long. It erases outlines, swallows architecture, and makes human achievement look like natural terrain. That is what makes the Amazon so different from other ancient mysteries. In Egypt, monuments rise from the desert. In the Andes, ruins cling to mountains. In the Mediterranean, stone cities survive under sun and wind. But in the Amazon, history is devoured. If an advanced settlement once existed there, it would not necessarily leave behind towering temples visible from miles away. It would break apart, sink into soil, disappear beneath roots, and become almost indistinguishable from the forest itself. In a landscape like that, the absence of obvious ruins was never proof of absence. It may simply have been proof that the jungle is one of the most efficient hiding places on Earth. This is where the mystery began to change. Over time, archaeologists and researchers began finding evidence that parts of the Amazon had been far more heavily shaped by human hands than anyone once believed. Strange geometric earthworks appeared where trees were cleared, raised fields suggested planned agriculture, long, straight causeways connected areas that did not look random. Mounds emerged in patterns too deliberate to be natural, and perhaps most surprising of all, there were signs that ancient populations had altered the soil itself, creating dark, fertile zones that seemed to reflect long-term settlement and land management. These were not the marks of people merely surviving in the jungle. These were the marks of people organizing it. That distinction is everything. Surviving in an environment is one thing. Reshaping it is another. Once researchers began to understand that ancient Amazonian peoples may have engineered landscapes, maintained productive zones, created transportation corridors, and built settlements with planned spatial logic, the old image of the rainforest began to collapse. The Amazon was no longer just a hostile environment limiting civilization. It began to look like a place where civilization may have adapted in forms outsiders failed to recognize because they were expecting stone empires instead of living landscapes. And that is exactly where the theory of the hidden city becomes so powerful. Because once you accept that the Amazon may have supported large, organized societies, the next question arrives almost immediately. How large? How organized? Were these only regional communities connected by trade and agriculture? Or are we seeing fragments of something much bigger? An urban world buried under vegetation, with ceremonial centers, defensive structures, engineered roads, water systems, and population density far beyond earlier estimates. In other words, are these isolated discoveries, or are they the visible edges of a civilization the jungle has been concealing all along? Supporters of the stronger theory believe the answer may be far more dramatic than mainstream history once allowed. They argue that what has already been found, geometric earthworks, settlement networks, altered soils, mound systems, and elevated infrastructure, may represent only the surviving outline of a much larger design. From this perspective, the Amazon was not home to one accidental settlement here and there, but to entire regions of coordinated human development. Villages may have been connected into broader systems. Sacred spaces may have served as political centers. Causeways may have linked ceremonial and residential zones. What appears today as fragments may once have formed a functioning world. What makes this idea so astonishing is not only its scale, but its implication. If the Amazon contained large population centers or sophisticated regional urbanism, then one of the biggest historical assumptions of the modern era would have to change. It would mean the rainforest was not merely a backdrop to human survival, but a stage for planning, engineering, governance, ritual, and long-term occupation. It would mean the people of the ancient Amazon were not marginal to history, but central to a story that the world failed to read correctly because the forest concealed the evidence too well. Of course, this is where serious analysis becomes essential. The phrase "hidden city beneath the Amazon" is powerful, but it can also be misleading if treated too literally. In some cases, what researchers find are not single massive stone cities in the style of Rome or Tikal, but complex settlement systems spread across landscapes, shaped in ways that do not fit older expectations of urban life. That does not make them less impressive. In some ways, it makes them more impressive. A civilization does not need marble towers to be advanced. It can build with earth, wood, canals, roads, and managed ecology. It can organize power through landscape instead of through monuments alone. And if that is what happened in the Amazon, then the shock is even greater, because it means our definition of civilization may have been too narrow all along. Still, the hidden city theory survives because certain discoveries feel too structured to ignore. When precise geometric formations appear under forest cover, when road-like alignments connect distant points, when settlement clusters suggest planning instead of accident, and when evidence of long-term land engineering keeps appearing across multiple regions, the imagination naturally pushes forward. If so much has already been found in areas once thought empty, then how much remains unrecognized under the canopy? How many more sites are still invisible because the jungle has sealed them away? And could there be central complexes, ceremonial hubs, or major population centers that have not yet been fully identified? This is why the mystery has become so compelling in recent years. The more technology improves, the less secure the old assumptions appear. Remote sensing, mapping, and landscape analysis have increasingly revealed that what looks like untouched wilderness from above may contain patterns of human design underneath. Straight lines where nature rarely draws straight lines. Platforms where random terrain should dominate. Repeated shapes too deliberate to be dismissed. The jungle, once seen as evidence against the existence of large ancient societies, is starting to look like the very reason those societies remained hidden for so long. And then there is the haunting historical question. What happened to them? If major settlements did exist in the Amazon, why did they disappear so completely that later generations doubted they had ever existed at all? There are several possible answers, and each one deepens the mystery. Disease following European contact may have devastated populations on a catastrophic scale. Political systems may have fragmented. Trade networks may have collapsed. Environmental shifts may have transformed the balance that once sustained these societies. Over time, abandoned infrastructure would have been reclaimed by the forest. Fields would vanish, causeways would crack, timber architecture would rot. The jungle would do what it always does, erase the visible world, and turn history into rumor. That possibility changes the emotional force of the story, because the Amazon hidden city theory is not only about discovery, it is about disappearance. It is about the idea that entire organized societies can vanish so completely that the modern world mistakes absence of visibility for absence of history. It is about how easily human achievement can be forgotten when the environment is powerful enough to consume its remains. And it is about the uncomfortable realization that what we call wilderness may sometimes be a graveyard of civilizations we never understood. There is also a reason this theory captures the public imagination so strongly. The Amazon already feels like a place of secrecy. It is vast, humid, alive, and visually impenetrable. It carries an atmosphere of concealment, unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. To imagine an ancient city hidden there is not difficult for the human mind. It feels right on an instinctive level. A jungle that hides species, rivers, tribes, and landscapes from modern view could also hide architecture, roads, shrines, and entire settlement systems. In that sense, the theory is not powerful only because of evidence. It is powerful because the setting itself seems built for a lost civilization narrative. But the most serious version of the theory is also the most disturbing. It suggests that the world has underestimated the Amazon not for years, but for centuries, that we inherited a simplified image of its past because explorers arrived too late, evidence decayed too quickly, and academic models stayed too rigid for too long. If that is true, then the hidden city is not just a mystery beneath the jungle. It is a warning about how easily history can be erased when a civilization builds in materials that do not survive, and when those who come later judge complexity only by what resembles their own monuments. So is there truly an ancient city hidden beneath the Amazon that is astonishing the world? The most responsible answer is this. There is strong reason to believe that parts of the Amazon once supported organized, large-scale, and highly engineered human societies, far more complex than earlier generations assumed. Whether that means one legendary lost city in the dramatic sense, or a network of interconnected settlements and ceremonial centers spread across a managed landscape, remains part of the mystery. But either way, the old story of an untouched Amazon is becoming harder and harder to defend, and perhaps that is the most astonishing discovery of all. Not that the forest hides one magical ruin waiting to be uncovered, but that the entire region may contain the remains of forgotten human worlds, layered beneath roots and soil, silent only because the jungle is better at concealment than stone deserts or mountain plateaus. The hidden city may not be a single place. It may be a civilizational memory scattered across the rainforest, waiting for technology, patience, and curiosity to piece it back together. In the end, the Amazon forces us to confront a humbling idea. Human history is not only buried in the places we expect, it is also hidden in places that destroy the evidence almost as quickly as they produce it. That means the greatest lost city may not be the one with the tallest monuments, but the one hidden so perfectly that the modern world spent centuries doubting it was ever there. And if that is true, then the Amazon may still be keeping some of the most important secrets on Earth beneath its green silence. Now I want to hear your theory. Do you believe the Amazon is hiding the remains of a true lost city? Or do you think the real discovery is something even bigger, a forgotten network of ancient societies, far more advanced than the world imagined? Leave your opinion in the comments, because this is one of those mysteries where every new discovery seems to make the forest even harder to explain. And if you enjoy serious content about ancient secrets, mysteries, hidden civilizations, and the stories that challenge official history, like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to support the project. Because sometimes the greatest discoveries are not found in open view, but in the places the world was never meant to see clearly.